This presentation from the Notebook on Life is applying Christian principles to daily living. Today, we're going to take a look at the resource called time. Psalms 90 verses 1 and 2 tells us that before the earth was formed, God existed. Man has tried to explain how time began. They say, there was nothing, and then nothing exploded, and everything began. It is easier for me to believe that God created than to believe that nothing exploded. Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Time was part of this creation. Our finite mind has a hard time comprehending the words eternity or infinity because we live in a period of time which has a beginning and will have an end. So rather than try and explain eternity or infinity, let's look at what God says about time and life. In Psalms 90, verses 4 through 6, we see that 1,000 years to God is like a moment in time. This moment includes our lifetime. Our lifetime is like the grass that is green in the morning and withers before evening. We see our lifetime referred to as grass again in Isaiah 40, verses 6 through 8. James 4:14 compares life to the morning fog. Now you see it, soon it is gone. Since our time on earth is so short, it is no wonder that Moses asked God in Psalms 90, verse 12, to teach us to number our days and recognize how few they are. Help us to spend them as we should. God has provided us with a way to measure time. In Genesis 1, verses 4 and 5, God divides the light from the darkness. God calls the light day, and the darkness he called night. In earlier times, the American Indian used the phase of the moon to tell long periods of time. Man observed shadows cast by the sun and developed a method to measure time by the movement of the shadow. In order for the sundial to work properly, it requires a clear sky. Question: why is it that we call it sunrise and sunset? Shouldn't it be earthrise and earthset? We say sunrise and sunset because of our point of view. In the same way, we talk about the start of a new day as being each morning. Yet in Genesis 1:5, it says, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Man found a need to measure time not only by the day and hour, but by minute and seconds. In today's world of sports, we find a need for timing events to the nearest 1/100th of a second. Scientists have now developed a clock that is accurate to within 1 second in 1,000,000 years. We measure the time that it takes for an object to move from point A to point B in miles per hour or feet per second. Time is involved in everything that we do. In the space program, scientists calculate long distances by time rather than miles. Long distances are measured in light years. We know that the speed of light travels at 186,000 miles per second. Therefore, we can calculate the distance that light will travel in 1 year, which is 9,500,000,000,000 kilometers, or 5,903,000,000,000 miles. The space program has given us the ability to see long distances in space. Since the launch of the Hubble telescope, we are now seeing objects in space that were never before visible. We know that Earth is a very small element located in a vast celestial space that God created. Scientists have calculated that the closest star is 4.2 light years away from Earth. That means that traveling at the speed of light, it would take 4.2 years to reach the star. How many miles is that? Well, if light travels at 5,903,000,000,000 miles in 1 year, then you have to multiply that number by 4.2, which is 24,780,000,000,000 miles. It's beyond my finite mind to comprehend that distance. If we're not careful, at this point we could take a rabbit trail and start to talk about what is space and light. In order to have good time management, we'll not go there. We want to focus on how to use the resource of time in our life. Now the question is, what does all this have to do with time, life, and me? God's creation is far greater than we can comprehend. Time is a period in God's creation where we currently live. This life is but a training ground for what is to come, and that during this lifetime we have an opportunity to learn who God is. Our lifetime on earth is short. In life, God has given us time as a resource. There's no charge for it. You can spend it as you want. How you spend it will determine your success or failure in life. Time cannot be saved. You either use it or lose it. You can waste it by doing nothing. Time is more valuable than money, for when your time runs out, you die. From the moment that we are born, we must realize that our time is running out. Since our time on earth is so short, it's no wonder that Moses asked God in Psalms 90:12 to teach us to number our days and recognize how few they are. Help us to spend them as we should. By numbering our days, we see that we need to account for everything we do each day. Some make lists on paper while others keep lists in their head. By keeping track of everything that needs to be done, we'll spend each day as we should. Otherwise, each day comes to an end without purpose. Good time management is allocating time to a task, yet it's more than that. It is planning the day's events. What does Proverbs say about planning? Planning is required if one is to avoid crisis in life. Planning how you will spend your time will help you avoid problems. The verses in Proverbs show us that planning is key to avoiding problems. Parents have a great responsibility when it comes to helping their child plan for the future. If a child is left to fend for himself, then they find that they will be facing one crisis after another. Parents, for the most part, must teach children to set goals. God instructed Adam in Genesis 1:28 to be fruitful. In other words, be productive. To measure productivity, one must have a goal. We see productivity and goals in education, in business, and in retirement. The question then becomes, how do we set and achieve goals? First, avoid setting a trap for yourself or your children. Don't set goals that cannot be measured. Don't set goals that are overly complex. If you're over 60 years old and close to retirement, the chances are you should not have a goal of, you fill in the blank. Becoming a Major League Baseball player at the age of 60 is an unachievable goal. Don't set goals that cannot be achieved. Be realistic. Okay, how do we set a goal? Well, be smart. Be specific. I want to learn how to use Microsoft Word. Be able to measure your progress. What would you like to be able to do the first day? What would you like to be able to do by the end of the first week? What added value will it provide? Learning Microsoft Word will increase my job skill and therefore help me earn money to support myself. Is the goal realistic? Do I have the resources required for learning this program? That is, do I have access to a computer? Can I achieve the goal in a timely manner? My goal is to learn all there is to know about Microsoft Word in 20 minutes. That's not possible. Even Bill Gates couldn't do that. 2 weeks may not be enough time, yet 2 years would not be in a timely manner either. Break the goal down into smaller pieces. Achieving a goal in 2 weeks is far easier than trying to achieve a goal in 20 years. The 20-year goal can be achieved. You just need to be able to measure the progress with shorter goals. A long-term goal is like eating an elephant. You have to do it one bite at a time. However, over time, you can get awfully tired of eating elephant meat. What happens when you achieve your goal? Well, have a party and celebrate your achievement. Then move on to the next goal. You say, I don't have another goal. That's where planning comes in. You need daily goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, and a 5-year vision. Beyond 5 years comes long-term planning. Let's look at some long-term planning. What do I want to see happen in my life before I die? Without a plan, you can find yourself going down the train tracks of life without purpose. Each click of the rail is another lost opportunity. I once met a missionary to Borneo by the name of Armin Geswine. He said, while he was on a train going to the mission field, he was listening to the clicking of the train wheels as they crossed each section of track. The rhythm of clickety-clack, clickety-clack reminded him of some Christians in life. The sound seemed to say, save soul, wasted life. Save soul, wasted life. He determined that it was not going to be his song in life. We all need a plan. A plan is the beginning to good time management. What small step could you take today towards reaching your goal? Philippians 3:13 reminds us that what is past is past. Although we may want to, there are no do-overs in life. It's history. It's time to move on. The question is, how do we manage the time that is in front of us? Admit it. We have wasted time in the past. Use past mistakes as a warning to not do them again in the future. Don't try to do it all at once. Small incremental change works best. You need to ask yourself 2 questions. How do I currently use my time? And is there a better way to use my time? Before we can use our time well, we must learn how God wants us to use it. Like Moses, we need to ask for God's help. He will then help us spend our days as we should. In part 2 of time management, We'll look at some time management methods.